Hello, hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Ramos Law Difference Makers podcast. I'm Dr. Jim Hoven, and I get the chance to meet people who are making a difference, share their stories, and hopefully help them make a difference in your life as well. Today, I have a really, really cool guest. He's become a friend of ours over the last couple of years. Great guy, great personality, wonderful human, and he and I were talking yesterday, and he has this incredible insight on something that I'm just learning about, and that is cryptocurrency and the blockchain. And so I'm like, oh man, I have to have you on the show, because for me, this is something that on the Difference Makers podcast, it's going to be making a difference in the lives of all of us in the next several years. So without further ado, I want to introduce the guest and get into this crazy digital topic of crypto and blockchain, Mr. Steve Shumaker. Steve, welcome to the show.
Hey, Dr. Hoven. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. I'm really excited to talk about this. This is one of the two things I'm really, really passionate about, marketing and the blockchain. So
sweet. And we're going to talk about how they come together too.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to give you a quick shout out. Steve is one of the ownership partners of Bloom Media, and they actually do a lot of work for us at Ramos Law. And so it's exciting to have him here, being able to share his passion for this. And I could really, as I was visiting with him yesterday, tell what this was about. So as we get going, Steve, can you give, and I'm going to ask that you keep this at the Jim Hoven level of understanding, which is very low, because I think most of the people listening to this are going to go, what's a blockchain? Sure. Or maybe they've heard of it, right? Yeah. And so can you kind of define what blockchain and what cryptocurrency is?
Yeah, definitely. So on a very, very simplistic level, surface level conversation about blockchain, you want to think about it as a trust-free transaction from peer to peer.
And is trust-free a good thing or a bad thing?
Yeah, this is also something that is kind of confusing. It's a bit of a buzzword in the industry. Trust-free means that I don't need to trust you in order to make a transaction.
Oh, so it's not free of trust, like, ooh, it's untrustworthy. It's the exact opposite. It's totally trustworthy because I don't need a personal trust. This is all business through computers.
That's exactly right. There's an algorithm in the middle of us ensuring that the transaction happens. So with something like, you can think about Western Union, right? Western Union is a middleman company. When you wire money, they ensure that the money gets to the proper recipient.
And they're paid for that.
They're paid for that. When using blockchain technology, that middleman is no longer necessary because there's a proven and agreed upon algorithm making the transaction for you. So on a very surface level, that's what we call first generation blockchain. We can dive into first, second, and third, where this is going, but I do want to kind of come back a little bit. I wanted to first talk about a little bit about marketing in blockchain, and I just want to shout out the Modern Marketing podcast that we produce. Season 2, episode 12 is called The Future of Digital Advertising with Blockchain. So if you're interested in marketing and blockchain solutions and how that's going to work out into the future, how I see that happening, feel free to go check out the Modern Marketing podcast. We're all over the place.
Cannot wait. I've listened to several episodes, but I did not listen to that one. I can't wait to get that one on my playlist ASAP.
Yeah, so if you're interested in marketing, that's definitely the place to go. I do a quick 20-minute breakdown of marketing and blockchain. I really suggest go and check that out if you're interested in marketing.
Definitely. So we were talking about this first, second, third. Even before we go into those kinds of things and define what cryptocurrency is.
Sure.
You've been in the space. You're a young guy. It's not like you're my age in my early to mid 50s. I'm gonna go with early 50s, by the way. But you're a young guy, and you've been in this since 2016.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 2017.
2017. Tell me what's your foray into this? Because nobody's heard about it at that point except the elite Uber tech guys that are creating it, right?
Yeah. So I'm a nerd. I've been a nerd since day one. I've been on computers since I was, young, like 8-9 years old. I've always been a gamer. I've always been interested in files and just how to manage computer systems. So when I ran across what Bitcoin was, I ran across Bitcoin probably about 2015-ish, and I was hearing about it a little bit. Was still skeptical. I didn't really understand it. I was too young at that point. I'm 24 right now, so that would be 4 years ago now. I was around 20 in 2017, a little earlier than that. So running across it, I was very, very interested in it, but I didn't quite understand it. So 2017 came around, and I'm a huge YouTube fanatic. Love YouTube. I think YouTube is an extremely powerful tool. And I just took to YouTube to figure out what was going on with this and learn from wiser voices, people who were in the space. And I ran across the Ethereum is what I found. And I think of myself as a bit of an old soul. I like to listen to history, and what I saw was, especially in the tech kind of space, the companies that really make a difference are the companies that build platforms for other people to build on top of. This is what really drew me to Ethereum. I wasn't the in on Bitcoin, all in kind of person. I see that it is kind of the digital gold type of thing, but I really, really saw what Ethereum was doing about building on top of what they already have, and I really believed in that. I got in a car accident as in 2017. It was actually earlier than that, about 2015, 16, and the case took forever to settle. I wish I had come to Ramos Law, honestly.
Thanks for that shout out.
I wish I had, because I think it would have closed a lot faster, but. As a kid, and I got an okay settlement on that. It wasn't anything to, brag about or anything. But of course, I went and I blew half of that. That was it. I blew half of it. I bought myself a car, took my friends to dinner, did all the things. And then I wised up a little bit, and I took the other half, and I went straight into Ethereum. And I was doing the numbers last night after we had talked, and I purchased 20 Ethereum for $250 a pop. So it wasn't anything at that point, it was already climbing.
Yes.
Months before that, it was in the $10 range.
Wow.
So I consider myself late to it, but now, looking at it, I was checking the price this morning, about $2,500.
Yes,
so
it was $2,300 2 days ago.
Yeah, and we had the ebbs and flows of this market are insane. So that was kind of my entry point into the cryptocurrency space, was Ethereum, because I believe in empowering other people to build, and the whole theory around this kind of cryptocurrency blockchain space is this idea of group think, group acting, group, like it's all about groups, how we build together. It's all about trust-free in that. So imagine being able to work in a space of people without trust being a problem at all. It seems like the ideal situation for anything, for building a business, for a currency, contracts. Yeah. So that's kind of my jump into the space in 2017 as a 20-year-old kid, young, always just loved tech, always loved computers and things like that. And I saw this and just, it made sense to me.
Wow. So. Well, as I've been getting into this was something that I first came across from a YouTube, interestingly, a 1 hour YouTube ad first.
Wow.
So for those of you people that think that all ads need to be 30 seconds, this caught my attention and I stuck with it for an hour, and then I started learning about it, and then I purchased a little thing and tried to get into it deeper and whatever. And so now I'm on the process of learning it, right? And my observations to this point is that the blockchain is a way for thousands or millions of computers to take information, one piece, and all those computers are validating it. So that's where this trust business comes in. And one podcast I was listening to about it called it like a fly in alum, and that the fly, if the fly, or say ice, if you're not an alum fan, but so if a fly is in a quarter inch of ice, you don't know if the ice is melted or if the fly hasn't been there very long or whatever. But if the fly is in a mile of ice, you can be sure that fly has been in there for a long time. And so what they relate that to is a piece of information being like that fly.
Yes.
The more ice or alum that's on top of that piece of information, the harder it is to get it out.
Yes.
Which means that once in the blockchain, and the more layers that get built in, the more bits of information go on top of it, the more ice. Now you can be assured that thing is in there and it is what it is. So you can't alter it, you can't hack it, you can't decrypt it. And so that's what I understand the blockchain to be.
That's a great way of looking at it. I've never heard that metaphor, but that's really, really good. It's all about a bunch of people, and the one thing that misses is the public ledger. So we think of a ledger as more of an accounting term, but in this way, the ledger is a list of transactions, or the sending or receiving of funds, or different non-fungible tokens. We can talk about that too.
Yes. Yes.
So it's an open public ledger where all of these things are recorded, and then, like you said, the further back they are, the more secure that, or the more trustworthy that piece of data is.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a great way of looking at it with the ice metaphor and with the fly. I think that's a great way of looking at it.
Well, when it comes to how all of that space works, I'm interested in knowing when we're going to start using this for currency, how do we buy some? Because right now we're talking data. So that, and I guess you can expand on this if you want, but I guess the cool thing is it's an open source creation. So people are open source putting the information on, but it's also an open source ledger so that I could see all of the transactions occurring, but I can't see who they are because everyone's got their own unique ID that's not, Jim Hoven or Steve Shumaker.
They're called wallet keys.
Wallet keys. So I got my own wallet key, so I can see that wallet key 1AC27 whatever made a transaction, but I can't see who it is. So there's privacy on one side, but transparency on the other. Is that accurate?
Yeah, totally. I mean, there's two different kind of stories to branch off of this. One is I've heard a story of a business owner who primarily paid their employees on blockchain with Bitcoin. Okay, seems silly at first, but then when it came to accounting at the end of the year, all those transactions were all public. So all he had to do is give this list of transactions to his accountant. Boom, done.
And so
and he just plugs it into his machine and it spits out all the accounting data right there.
So and this may be a semantics issue or a misunderstanding of terms. I think if people hear this, they're going to say, wait, I don't want to get paid in Bitcoin. I want to get paid in greenbacks, in dollars or whatever. Yeah. Can you explain when you say getting paid, it was Bitcoin the platform that allowed them to exchange real money, or did they get paid in Bitcoin that they would try? I can't go pay the groceries with Bitcoin. Can you kind of dive
definitely.
into that?
So when the ecosystem first was around, we're talking all the way back, 2009, 2010, 2011. There was no real good system set up for transacting between Bitcoin and US dollars. It was all kind of sketchy. It was kind of like this Craigslist type of deal, or online, like, okay, I'm going to send you $2,000 or $1,000. You're going to send me however many Bitcoin. It was really kind of a sloppy system. But as time has progressed, there's a lot of different protocols and different companies working on swapping your Bitcoin and US dollar or Bitcoin and Ethereum and making pairs, like trading pairs in between to make it really, really seamless. So I can receive my paycheck on my phone, on my wallet, and then I can choose to either keep it in Bitcoin or I can just do a swap to US dollars. Like Coinbase does this very well.
And Coinbase is an app on the blockchain, right? It's a centralized app that everybody can join and be part of the game.
Yeah. It's like a trading hub. So it's like a eToro or like a Webull, or it's a hub for trading specifically, but you also have wallets inside of that you can hook to your traditional bank account. So it's it's kind of a mix of a Venmo and a Robinhood so it's a wallet as well as a trading platform, and you can do a whole bunch of different things. But Coinbase is generally in the United States where people get their first exposure to either buying Ethereum or Bitcoin, or now they have dozens of coins underneath there, which is really cool. Opening up the possibilities for the average retail consumer is awesome.
And when you say coins, again, these, just so people get it, because my mind, when I was hearing all this, I'm like, Bitcoin, this coin, that coin. You're not buying real coins. You're buying X's and O's in a way, right? And somehow they get a value that you are able to trade for with trading partners. Are there any besides, and I think it would be good for you to explain what Ethereum is, as it's separate and distinct from Bitcoin, and it and Bitcoin are the two gorillas in the space. And by the way, I listened to a podcast by the founder of Ethereum, and right now in 2021, he's 27. Wow. So he's just right in your age group, and he started Ethereum, which is, I think I heard this morning, there's a market cap of somewhere between 8 and 20 billion on Ethereum right now, depending on if you're looking at futures of it, how it would work and all that. And that's kind of getting into the weeds. The point is, it's huge.
We're moving closer to 230 billion.
As a system,
as a total market cap. Yeah.
Oh, for Ethereum.
Yeah.
Oh.
Bitcoin is pushing $1 trillion, over $1 trillion now.
No kidding.
Yeah. So now you see, this is a totally different topic, but legislation is going to be coming soon about this. The total market cap for the cryptocurrency space is over $2 trillion now.
Okay.
So once you start hitting those numbers, the government starts going, what's going on here, right?
Yes.
So we can expect some things in the future, which is totally off topic. But back to the coins thing. Yeah, when I say coins, there's a broad definition for that. Right now, there are thousands of coins. You can go on coinmarketcap.com, and it gives you the running list of all of the cryptocurrencies available and their total market cap, their what the volume is looking like as far as trading, the max amount of coins that will be minted, and how many are currently minted. So you can think of them. There's a couple different classifications for these coins. So you have like first generation is something that we refer to like Bitcoin. Bitcoin is first generation. The protocol came out. Satoshi Nakamoto, the anonymous man, the myth, the legend, came out and wrote his white paper, the Bitcoin white paper, and he described a transactional currency type. Storage of wealth type of thing where there's no middleman. We talked about this. And then second generation came around with Ethereum. And Ethereum, they took this concept called smart contracts, and they brought a programming language on top of the Bitcoin protocol. So when we say protocol, we were talking about the kind of the white paper, the way it works, the algorithms, the coding around it. So Ethereum brought smart contracts to the Bitcoin kind of space. So that enabled people to do conditional transactions. So not only was it, I want to send money to Dr. Hoven, it's, I want to send money to Dr. Hoven if these conditions are met, which opens up a whole broad range of opportunities inside
Absolutely.
of that. So you can build apps on top of it. We could talk about Cryptokitties, which is kind of the first non-fungible token. Non-fungible tokens are built on top of the Ethereum platform as a smart contract. So yeah, that was kind of the revolutionary thing that Ethereum did. They were the first platform in the cryptocurrency space, the ones that allowed other people to build on top of what they've created, which is why I was so drawn to it in the beginning. Now we're moving into kind of a third generation cryptocurrency space where the proof of concepts have been worked out, but now we're looking at how to scale this. So it's cool if a couple 100,000 people can use it. It's cool if 1 million people can use it. But in order to run the world on this, we need billions of people to be able to use this. It's a huge problem right now.
And it's a problem, from my understanding,
Yes.
and it was super limited.
Yeah.
The reason it's a problem is because when you go to the one thing about a centralized system, let's use the banking system.
Yeah.
So the Federal Reserve, whatever the Federal Reserve does or doesn't do, let's just say in this particular context, the Federal Reserve, they have all the information. So they're incredibly efficient at holding and having and doing whatever.
Right.
But they can control it. It can be hacked. They can manipulate it. All this stuff can happen on one
Interest
side.
rates.
Interest rates, all of this stuff for the Federal Reserve. If all of the money were tied to all of these computers around the planet, then no one person has control. These data miners have to do what they do to make sure that their value is there. And so they're now doing the best thing to make sure that the right thing is happening, but that's a lot of energy, a lot of power, a lot of work. So you decrease efficiency, which increases cost compared to a centralized thing, but you gain this trust-free environment, increased security, and fewer fees, because now the Fed can't, get all these interest rates and do all this thing. Now, the little bit magnetized over the world lets everybody do better on a win-win. Is that kind of what we're talking about?
Yeah, totally. So there's two different ways of running a kind of a blockchain right now. We have, there's more, but there's two main ones. There's proof of stake and proof of work. Bitcoin is a classic one that's a proof of work algorithm. So by proof of work, we mean, okay, I have a mining data center, right? And that is working to mine Bitcoin in order to power the system. So the system is all running on these large data facilities, essentially. It's moved from backyard in your garage into these giant systems, which over 50% are in China, by the way. It's just an interesting fun fact. But so that's one way to do it. These massive computers take a lot of electricity. This is a huge complaint with Bitcoin and these proof of work systems, which Ethereum is currently a proof of work. They are working to move to proof of stake, which is I hold Ethereum. I can use that Ethereum and put it into this into a wallet that is used to operate the system. So and then I'm rewarded for holding my Ethereum inside of that.
That's called a tech royalty. Is that right?
Yeah, I haven't heard that exact term, but yeah, you can it's like a royalty or like a dividend almost. You can think of it as for more traditional markets. So that's the proof of work versus proof of stake is a really big thing with scalability into the future. How do we not suck up all of the electricity on the planet or warm up the oceans by giant data centers being in the oceans? Crazy stories about this. You can look at all this stuff up. There are a lot of complaints about that. How do we make sure that we can scale this without sucking all the power, without taking up all the space, without heating up the oceans, without on Earth Day, by the way.
Oh, is today Earth Day?
Earth Day is today.
Happy Earth Day, everyone. That's super cool. Did not know that.
So proof of work work is definitely a contentious subject right now on how we make this scalable without doing that. That's why proof of work is really kind of a cool idea. Everyone donates their own personal computing power through wallets to power the system. For example, Cardano is one of the top 10 currencies right now. They're doing something. His name is Charles Hoskinson's the CEO. He was a former Ethereum developer with Vitalik Buterin. Vitalik Buterin is the CEO right now. And he had some fundamental disagreements with Ethereum and how they were running things. So he started Cardano. And he's the one I kind of bring these 3 points from: scalability, interoperability, and sustainability. So those are the 3 key tenets to how to build something that's long-term, useful, that's competitive with the traditional financial markets and gives like a really good boost. So the first one's scalability. Can billions of people use the platform? That's really, and as of right now, with Ethereum, we can't. The
takes too much power.
The gas cost. So gas is this unit of measurement to pay for the network to run.
Now, it's not literal gas, or is it literal gas when you say gas costs?
Yeah, so it's referred to as gas costs. So gas is a way you pay in this quote unquote gas in order to power the system to make your transactions go back and forth.
So now, would that apply to the user? So let's just say I want to buy a pizza with Ethereum or Bitcoin. Is there a gas cost associated with me getting my pizza, a surcharge that goes to the platform, say Ethereum or Bitcoin? That's their fee?
That's exactly right. Yes. Okay. And as the network grows and more people are on it, the higher those costs go, because if it's a natural supply and demand, right? If people are demanding to move around their Ethereum to buy a pizza, let's say, and that's generally a fast transaction, right? You don't want to wait till tomorrow to buy your pizza. You want your pizza now. So you're going to pay a higher gas fee in order for that transaction to be processed at a quicker pace.
Got it. It's like going to 7-Eleven for a convenience store for your toilet paper as opposed to going to Costco where you'll get it at a lot cheaper.
Bingo.
It's so interesting you say that. I was just listening to something today on this, and this guy that was talking said that they're talking about right now and he didn't use the Gen 1, Gen 2, he used the level 1, level 2, where Bitcoin or Ethereum would be the level 1, the foundation piece. Mm-hmm. And then there's a raging political debate, and I don't know what politics in the ether world looks like, but there's this big struggle going on where should all things be done through Bitcoin or Ethereum, like you said, either huge transactions and pizza, or should you build another layer on top of that for the small rapid transactions for exactly what you said? Because the more that happens in the chain, should they be expanding the blockchain? Right. Or should they be developing layers so that these faster, smaller transactions can happen there? Is that what you're talking about?
That's a huge part of it. So that's actually the next step, which is interoperability. It's this idea that these chains can work together and communicate with each other. So right now, Ethereum and Bitcoin can't communicate with each other. They're separate coding languages. So it's this idea of the winner takes all, right? There's a huge push for, people get like in this cult-like mentality about their coin, right? This is the one that's going to go to the moon. This is the one that's going to take it all, right? But really the future of this is interoperability, where these coins can talk to each other and they can transact among each other. So I can swap Bitcoin and Ethereum one-to-one perfectly because they understand each other. So this is where Cardano project is coming in and trying to solve all these different problems, because they believe that it doesn't have to be a winner takes all. We can have we could have a pizza coin just for pizza, where all of the pizza retailers in the country are on this pizza coin, and it's easy. We can send it, and then you can have that and receive it to my wallet, and then I can transfer that for Bitcoin. I could transfer that for US dollar. I could transfer that for Ethereum. I could, is this another project called Uniswap. That's their whole goal, is to swap coins among each other. So making sure that the coding languages for all of these different coins communicate with each other, because the applications of blockchain go so much deeper than just a transactional monetary transaction. They go down to the use cases for this are unbelievable, right? So we can train AI, right? So say this is kind of a far out kind of idea that I've kind of been developing. So AI is going to change the world.
It is definitely changing as we speak. Yeah, we're part of it in our marketing, right? We're seeing how it's affecting the people that see or hear our messaging.
That's exactly right. So we're going to need to train a lot of AI, okay? The best trainers for AI are people, and a lot of people. That's why when you do CAPTCHA, when you prove that you're a human, that's a training in AI.
Oh.
Which is interesting. So you see, select the crosswalks. That's the AI learning what a crosswalk is, because the AI can't do that. So in a future world, you could be rewarded for doing a CAPTCHA by getting a CAPTCHA coin, right? Because you are actually giving something to the system, and they're benefiting from that, from creating an AI, and then they reward you for it. So the applications for this whole blockchain thing are immense.
Yeah, I've heard education could
immense.
really be changed with the way that blockchain works. And healthcare, like where I came from in healthcare, all the protected health data that a patient might see with me stays on the blockchain. It's totally secure.
Yes.
But then if it needs to go to some other doctor, that they can get that patient allows them, they somehow have the ability to see that with the trade of information as opposed to currency.
That's
right?
exactly right. Yeah, I mean, in the case of healthcare, this is an amazing opportunity because, like you said, the security around blockchain is unbelievable. It's on a case-by-case basis, but for the most part, it's unhackable because there's so many other computers and people on the network checking to make sure that's correct. So yeah, I could have an app on my phone powered by the blockchain where I have all of my personal health information, my vaccine records, my, when my last checkup was, whatever it is, and then you could have, okay, I'm transferring to a new hospital. I'm transferring to a new healthcare provider. The healthcare provider simply requests access to it, to my phone, on my app, and I can go, oh yeah, I trust this hospital, this healthcare provider, accept. Boom. All of the information is now on their blockchain system. So exactly what you're saying. The use cases are unbelievable. They really are.
Yeah. Well, I want to shift gears now to what you had mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
NFTs, if you can define them and then talk about them, because I got to tell you, I heard about NFTs from a podcast I was listening to, the Gary Vee podcast, which you and I have talked so much about Gary Vee over
I've been loving
our years
Gary's
together.
conversation about NFTs.
Right.
He's really heard into it. Yes.
And so interestingly enough, the NFT space, the thing that blew my mind for those people who have not heard of NFTs, think of, and Steve, I'm sure you'll be able to do this way better justice than I, think of a sports center highlight that you saw, top dunk on basketball, top dunk of the day, and all of a sudden that athlete, if it was, we'll say Michael Jordan back in the day, it's a Michael Jordan top dunk, and that now becomes his digital property that although I can see it on SportsCenter, recorded on my VCR, assuming we had VCRs, I could watch it a million times on YouTube. It doesn't have a value, but if I buy the NFT of that dunk for $100 or $10, it might be worth $1,000 later, like a baseball card, but it's not real. Like, go into that. Talk to me about NFTs.
NFTs are a phenomenon that's happening right now. Obviously, everybody's talking about them, and I can give you kind of the roots of where NFTs came from. It's something called Cryptokitties, and it's this platform, this website where you could buy a digital recreation of a cat. Okay, and the cat would have a silly hat or be multicolored, but it's like a trading card, exactly what you're saying. So Cryptokitties came around, and they were built on top of the Ethereum blockchain, and it was a craze. People were selling kitties for thousands of dollars. Okay, like virtual, not even like play. You can't play with them. You can't do anything. You can look at them, right? Some of them are animated a little bit, but they were selling for thousands, tens of thousands of dollars, and people were going berserk over them. And it was this weird craze. And this happened a couple years ago. This happened right when I got into the space, around 2017, maybe a little bit after that. And that was our first kind of the look into what the NFT space could be. So now in 2021, as we're looking at this, it makes sense to me. It just makes sense because I saw what happened in Cryptokitties, and now it's being applied to everything media. So the trading card thing is it's sports cards. They make sense. Everybody knows sports cards, and some sports cards trade for hundreds of thousands of dollars. Doesn't make any sense to me, but it makes sense to the person buying it. And it's all around the supply and demand thing. And so when we look at this, it's a great thing for art. And this is just kind of we are just beginning to understand what this NFT thing is, because yes, it can be digital stuff, but it can also be physical stuff. You can tag a physical, say, piece of artwork to the blockchain, and then you can confirm who owns it and whether it's a real Mona Lisa, whatever,
Sure.
Picasso, whatever it is. You can confirm that by checking the blockchain. So they're also doing this in real estate as well. Side note, which is very interesting. Also another interesting project. But yeah, so with NFTs, we're seeing this huge NFT revolution. And yes, I think that some of this is a bit gimmicky, and it is a bubble. I'm sorry to rain on people's parades, but I think it is a bit of a bubble. There is a craze around this, which we're going to see these things fluctuate up and down in prices, because we're talking about paintings, like not even paintings, but like digital art going for tens of hundreds of thousands of millions of dollars.
Wow.
So the scale of this is kind of absurd right now. It ebbs and flows just like anything in this market. It's emerging technology. As NFTs continue to come around, we'll see the price level out into what people are actually worth or willing to pay for this stuff. But aside from price things, when I think of NFTs, I think of virtual reality, right? This is really where I think NFTs are going to shine. When we're all living in our virtual houses, in our virtual beaches, whatever it is, kind of like a Ready Player One. I don't know if you've seen that movie.
I have
type
seen
of
that.
scenario. That's a bit dystopian, but when we're all living in these kind of virtual worlds, which a lot of us live in games already, these pieces of art that we're going to hang in our virtual worlds are going to mean something to us.
Wow.
And a lot more when I have you over for virtual dinner. Whatever it is,
Wow.
or let's watch a movie on my couch on Netflix in my virtual, movie theater, whatever it is. These things are going to make a lot more sense, I think.
Okay.
So I can, keeping the NFTs inside of virtual worlds, inside of games, inside of things like that, that makes sense to me. And that's where I really see this NFT thing going in the future.
So what about because that is so fantastic. It's literally, when I say fantastic, I mean, like in a fantasy thing, like you're talking AI fantasy thing, Ready Player One. That's unbelievable. I'd like you to speak kind of as we bring all this back around on two things. One is, how does blockchain and crypto and or NFTs affect the common person who's never heard about it? Should they look at, is there anything they need to do or to prepare for this? Or is it just going to kind of happen assimilation, like little piece at a time?
Yeah.
We'll all kind of get to it, number one. Number two, what about for businesses? We touched on it and alluded to it earlier with the marketing side of things. When it comes to advertising or when it comes to getting your message out there, is there something that we need to know as a business for the blockchain? So common man, what does this have? What do we look for? And businesses, what do we look for?
Yeah. So this is not financial advice, by the way.
No financial advice. That we're not recommending you invest in anything.
Yeah. I know you'd mentioned the hour-long YouTube video. That's Tika.
Was it Tamari or something along those lines?
Yeah.
Yes.
I know Tika, he talks about this being the greatest wealth transfer in all of human history. And I believe that. I believe that this is a better system for doing things. Right now, we struggle with trust in our culture, in the world at large. We struggle to trust each other, and this is something that is is a permeating issue across all industries, across even personal, your personal life. So I think that this system is better than the one we currently have. It's more democratized. It's more reliable. There's not a central hand controlling things. So I think for the average person, this is a better system. This is something that's going to better everyone's lives. So why not?
Yeah,
that's my thought on it.
So do we just let it happen? Like things will happen a little bit at a time.
Yeah.
We'll kind of be titrated and dripped into it.
The average person who has no technical knowledge or any kind of computer knowledge will gradually be trickled into it through things like apps. So you'll download an app that will be similar to Venmo in the future, but it'll be tied to the blockchain. Or a company like Venmo will adopt the blockchain as part of their system. So you'll be using the blockchain within the next 2 to 5 years without even knowing about it, most likely.
I see.
To get into, a lot of people think about like stocks too on the back end of things. That it's a great opportunity in my opinion. I mean, there's a lot to go into about bull and bear markets and how the halving event of Bitcoin affects that. And there's a whole lot of heady kind of trading knowledge about that. But the biggest thing is that I would really kind of look for a couple different projects that you personally like. There's ones for art. There's ones for music. For protecting artists' royalties. This is a big thing with the NFT space. There's stuff for an industry by industry. There's supply chain coins. There's hundreds of thousands of coins all trying to solve problems. Find one that maybe you identify with. Something that makes you get up in the morning. Maybe you're a healthcare provider and you found a coin that's helping solve a problem that's really influential in your industry. Hop on that.
But you can't buy that through your financial advisor. You got to figure out a way. You got to get a wallet for that coin, and then you got to move the money in and out of the market through your wallet, right?
Yeah,
there's a learning curve to it.
There definitely is. And yeah, YouTube is a great resource. If you spend, like you said, like an hour on YouTube, you can learn a lot in an hour. And once you kind of get the fundamentals down, all of the individual aspects of it will start to make sense. So once you get a good broad picture of it, there's a great video called explaining the blockchain on to multiple age people. So this woman goes through teaching a elementary school age person, a middle school, high school, college level, and the graduate level. Goes all the way up. It's like teaching blockchain to the different ages, or if you YouTube that, it'll come up. So yeah, I would suggest just jumping in and learning about it, because it's going to influence your and my and everyone's life, whether we know it or not. But understanding how it works is definitely beneficial.
But what about business? So we'll finish with this. What about if the person listening owns a business, runs a business, and they want to see what the blockchain or these kind of things mean for them? What would they do, and how would they maybe even connect with you to learn more? Yeah,
definitely. So with business, we're seeing large enterprise businesses really kind of be the first ones to jump into the system. You're seeing a lot with supply chain management. So if you have a lot of different moving parts and you need to track all of them, you can attach them to the blockchain to know exactly where they are, their estimated times, when they're going to get places. So you'll see companies like, obviously like larger companies using this stuff a lot. Smaller companies, what we're looking for right now at Bloom Media is a good blockchain provider that handles transactions. So right now we use something like Square, where they take anywhere from 3 to 5%, something like that. That adds up over time, and the blockchain is going to offer a better solution for that in the very, very near future, where we're talking under 1% fees.
Wow!
So that that 3 to 4% is
saves
massive.
A ton of overhead, a lot of expenses.
Tons of overhead. You don't have to pay the entire staff at Square or this mega corporation at Square to make the transaction for you. We could deal directly with you, right? So that's the most, I guess, pressing thing on my mind for my business right now is how do I drop those fees with a better technology that's user friendly and gets the job done in a more efficient manner. But these solutions are going to come to businesses all over. It's really, we talked about healthcare and things like that. So yeah, I mean, if you research it, there's probably a project trying to help in a pain point that you have. So,
Steve, this was magnificent, man, and hopefully we didn't go too deep, too fast. I tried to keep it. I mean, because I'm wading in ankle deep water, and you're obviously swimming in the ocean compared to me. So, thank you for breaking this down for us and for making it I mean, I'm excited. I'm excited to learn more. It makes me want to study more. And if people want to get a hold of you and Bloom to discuss this or how it relates to their business or marketing, how can they reach you?
Sure. Our website is bloommedia.us. My email address, if you want to reach out to me personally, is Stephen, that's STEPHEN, @bloommedia.us. So I love to talk about this stuff. Clearly, I probably jabbermouth the whole time.
No, you did great. Fantastic job. Fantastic job.
I love to talk to anybody about this. I really enjoy it. So thanks for having me.
Absolutely. You've
really
been a great addition to my day, to the listeners' day, and continued success to you and your company, my friend.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that.